I am the hammer. I am the sword in his hand. I am the gauntlet about his fist. I am the bane of his foes and the woes of the treacherous. I am the end. The Adeptus Astartes would encompass a new era of the Imperium's might in the wake of the Horus Heresy. The legions of old would be torn down, and in their image a new generation of Astartes would forge new glories in the name of their gene-sires and their primogenitors. Yet one chapter would be created not from the stock of the Primarchs, but from the master of mankind himself. A new breed of warriors made to destroy every vestige of chaotic taint across the stars. Each Astartes of this singular chapter would champion the will of the Emperor and guidance of the Sigillite. The mysterious and indomitable demon hunters, the Grey Knights. The threat of the ruinous powers would be concealed for much of humanity's existence. Terrifying and malevolent beings, capable of twisting and corrupting the souls of the innocent, would pose the greatest threat to the prosperity of mankind and prove too dangerous to ignore. With the corruption of the War Master of Chaos, Horus Lupercal, during the civil war of the Horus Heresy, the conniving powers of the Immaterium would reveal their identity and enthrall the minds of many of the Imperium's greatest champions. The Legiones Astartes, though valiant in their defiance against the encroaching darkness, would prove susceptible to the taint of chaos, and in a cruel twist of irony, serve as both the saviors and scourge of humanity. No longer concealed from mankind's perception, the creatures of the warp would prey upon the souls of the Imperium and prove to be foes of unrelenting and persistent harrowing. Yet among the Legiones Astartes, a singular organization within their ranks would prove invaluable in banishing the fell powers from the warp. The librarians of each legion would channel the powers of the Immaterium and unleash its power against its own spawn. Yet for each space marine who would dabble in the arts of witchcraft, the potential for corruption and submission to the entities of the warp would ensnare even the truest of souls within the Legiones Astartes. Unable to protect humanity from the knowledge of the dark gods and their presence any longer, the master of mankind and his most trusted advisor, Malcador the Sigillite, would conceive of a new force to combat the archenemy. Drafting individuals of great martial and psychic potential from every legion of the Astartes, even the displaced and devout loyalists of traitor legions would be brought into the fold of this new clandestine force. Dubbed the Knights Errant, the warriors of Malcador clad in bear grey ceramite would stand against the fiends of darkness and prove capable of cleansing their most abhorrent foes. Following the defeat of the War Master and the traitor legions of the Rebellion of Horus, the stalwart titans of the Knights Errant would be enshrined as the new leaders of a new order of warriors. Eschewing their names, deeds and legion heritage, the new Supreme Grand Masters of the Grey Knights chapter of the Adeptus Astartes would be gifted the Moon of Titan as their new base of operations. In the shadow of Saturn, the fortress monastery of the Grey Knights chapter would harbor the vast library known as the Librarium Daemonica, filled with tomes detailing the infamous names and origins of the Immaterium's most heinous inhabitants. Nestled beneath Titan's tallest peak, Mount Anarch, the Astartes now known as Ianius, Koios, Iapto, Satra, Epimetheus, Jotun, Ogun, and Chiron would study the vast archives of secret lore detailing the weaknesses and origins of the eternal enemy. For they would be responsible for commanding a new chapter with the sole purpose of eradicating the denizens of the Immaterium and cleansing the galaxy of the foulest corruptions. Kept secret from the wider Imperium, few know of the existence of the Citadel of Titan, nor its silver-clad order. Not even the Adeptus Astartes know of the existence of the Grey Knights, with few exceptions, such as the founding chapters of the Dark Angels and Space Wolves, discovering their identity through cooperation and strife. Said to be incorruptible scions of the Emperor's own divine progeny, the Grey Knights would epitomize the greatest virtues of the noble genecraft of the Astartes, combined with the nobility of its founding titans of legend. Unconstrained by the limits of the Codex Astartes and their amassed strength, each aspirant of the Grey Knight's initial formation would be drawn from hundreds of thousands of worlds, hand-picked from untold billions of potential candidates. Pure in mind and incorruptible in spirit, the Grey Knights chapter homeworld would amass their armories, recruits, and knowledge of the Arcanum, as the Sigillite would, as his last act, weave a powerful psychic ward to conceal the Moon of Titan inside a bubble of shrouded real space. For centuries, the Grey Knights chapter would exist within the warp, shielded from demonic invasion and undisturbed by the fires of war as the scouring of the traitors waged across the material realm. Solar years would pass, but for the Grey Knights, they would experience time in a delayed state and study for Terran decades within their protected citadel. Unmolested from the traitor invasion of the Sol system, with the Grey Knights returned to real space, unscarred from the ravages of war, they would be ready to enact the will of their recently sacrificed benefactor and the interred God Emperor of mankind. Regarded as the military arm of the newly founded Holy Inquisition, the Grey Knights are closely intertwined with the many orders of their allies in upholding the Emperor's will and quelling insurrection and perversion of the Imperium. Held in high esteem, above even the most venerated of the founding chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, the Grey Knights are the epitome of the full might of the Master of Mankind brought to bear. 1,000 Grey Knights would emerge from their citadel, where hundreds of thousands of aspirants had initially entered upon their vigil within the warp. Supreme Grand Master Janus, the once proud 15th Legion sorcerer known as Revuel Arvida, would lead his chapter in their eternal crusade to purge chaos from the dark corners of the galaxy. Attributed as the 666th chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, upon their return to real space, the Inquisitor Lords of the Imperium would add their service to the records of the Adeptus Terra in secret and draw no attention to this mysterious faction. Deployed by the will of the Inquisition, the Grey Knights would purge the wicked of the Void on the twin moons of Irm and the Vorse system, yet all records of the initial campaigns of the 666th chapter would be redacted from Imperial records. During the darkest hour of the Imperium, during the 32nd millennium, the Inquisition would be fractured. The aged Inquisitor, once known as Kirill Sinderman, would be poisoned by the leader of the Assassinorum, Draken Vanderich, during the conflict known as the War of the Beast, and as his last act, deemed the Inquisition to be divided to combat acts of Xenos threats. The last surviving founder of the Inquisition, now known as Lasta Nima Gwyn Veritas, had seen to the protection of the Imperium for 1,500 years following the end of the Horus Heresy, and would deem the impending threat of the Orc Xenos to be the greatest faced since the Great Civil War. Confiding with Inquisitor Margareth Wynand of the existence and location of the Grey Knights chapter, the Inquisitor would honor Veritas' dying wish and meet with the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights. Meeting with Janus within the Titan Citadel, Wynand would discuss Veritas' dying wish to split the Inquisition into two orders to better combat the enemies of the Imperium. Forming the Ordo Xenos and Ordo Malleus, the Grey Knights would accept their appointment as the Chamber Militant of the Ordo Malleus. Vangerich would die during the reprisal known as the Beheading, and with Wynand's intervention, the Grey Knights would be further emboldened to combat the threats of chaos without restraint. Crafted not from the genetic materials of the Primarchs, the sons of the 666th chapter of the Adeptus Astartes derived their gene seed directly from the Master of Mankind. Pure of spirit and strong in constitution, with exception to the Adeptus Custodes and the Sons of the Emperor, none can claim to surpass the Grey Knights' martial skill, strength, and willpower. The Emperor's gift setting the chapter apart from their corruptible peers, it is said that the Grey Knights' inherited genetics make them incapable of corruption, treachery, or heresy. Though holding with great pride the notion that no Astartes of the Grey Knights has in its long service ever fallen to chaos, speculation nonetheless remains within the minds of the most scrupulous of Imperial scholars. With the knowledge that many of the sons of the Emperor would fall to the clutches of chaos, it is seen as no more than hubris that the wholesale contingent of an Astartes chapter of any caliber can innately reject the enticements of the arch-enemy. Statistically improbable due to the sheer amount of thousands of Grey Knights serving their chapter for millennia, opportunities for their corruption would be incalculable. Some deem the fact that the Emperor protects to be reason enough for the chapter's purity, yet many remain skeptical of the veracity of such claims. To be a Grey Knight is to be the survivor of trials weeding out 1 in a billion of failed aspirants. The trials of recruitment, the single most stringent and difficult of any Space Marine chapter. Gatherers of the chapter search far and wide across the galaxy to find suitable candidates worthy of implantation of the Emperor's genetic materials. Each gatherer is an ancient veteran of the chapter, too wounded or aged to fulfill his role as a frontline Astartes, and has survived countless centuries of war and knows intimately the threats that his aspirants shall face should they survive their trials. Searching the minds of their candidates for signs of weakness, the gatherers supersede the authorities of penal worlds, black ships, and even Space Marine chapter recruitment worlds, should they find promising candidates. Brought to the surface of Titan by dropship, each starved and weary aspirant will be commanded to walk the desolate freezing plains of Titan to reach the Chamber of Trials within the Titan Citadel. Each surviving aspirant is mentally and physically tormented by both physical and immaterial means to push them to breaking point. Sent once more to walk the surface of Titan for 1,000 kilometers to reach the caustic Xanadu region, they shall pass the Anarch High Pass, the rustling desert, and Saturnine Maze, and those who do not perish in their journey shall be forced to control their innate psychic powers. For should he fail to do so, an inhibitor collar affixed to his neck shall explode, bearing witness to the bones and corpses of millions of failed aspirants paving their journey. Only 1 in 1,000 aspirants shall survive this first grueling trial. Setting further trials within the Ganesa Macula Caverns and Ios Antor Oceans, only when content with their recruits' efforts shall the Grey Knights instructors induct the surviving aspirants as recruits of the chapter. Implanted with the Emperor's genetic materials, each recruit shall undergo the 666 rituals of detestation to prove his unbreakable loyalty to oppose chaos, and should he succeed, have his memory wiped away of his past. Implanted with a silver hexagrammic and pentagrammic purity ward under every ounce of his skin, such sigils shall stave off contamination or influence by the powers of the warp. Immediately presented with their armor and installed within the 8th company of the chapter, none shall be coddled in confronting the full terror of chaos. Renamed with a carefully chosen title derived from the arcane lore of the chapter, alike to the true names of demons, each Grey Knight's given name bears power inherent in its adoption. Derived from a portion of a demon entity's true name, the Grey Knights siphon power from their terrible foes to be used against them, with names derived from Saturn's moons, imparting great power, and only given to the most remarkable of neophytes. Though officially deemed as a second founding chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, the Grey Knights do not follow the edicts of the Codex Astartes. Revering the structure and guidance imparted by their founder, Malcador the Sigillite, the 666th chapter are unique in regard to their peers in several ways. Crafted in the Emperor's own image in the stead of a Primarch, and with their close ties to the Inquisition, the Grey Knights are equipped with greater armaments, supplies, influence, and support than any standard Space Marine chapter. Guided by the will of the Chapter Council, this body of the 8 Grand Masters, led in turn by their Supreme Grand Master, the Grey Knights divide its amassed strength into brotherhoods. The size of each of these contingents approximates the same size as regular Space Marine battle companies, with 8 companies in total, corresponding to the founding titans of the Knights Errant. Roughly 100 Astartes in number, this total does not take into account additional command personnel, such as the Brother Captains, Company Champions, or Ancients. Divided further into smaller squad formations of 10 Space Marines, each can be further split into 2 combat squads of 5. The first Brotherhood, the Swordbearers, are led by Grand Master Vardan Kai. Led by the Steward of the Grey Knight's Armory, the Swordbearers deploy Stormraven gunships and Land Raiders to close the distance to their enemies, helmed by the chapter's greatest pilots. Overseeing the psychic wards upon the chapter's vehicles, it is the duty of the First Brotherhood to not only charge into the breach of battle, but also upkeep the mechanisms of the chapter's war machines. The Second Brotherhood, the Blades of Victory, are led by Grand Master Vorf Mordrak. Reputed as experts of rapid deployments and lightning strike assaults, the Blades of Victory field numerous interceptor and strike squads, and prefer teleportation devices to storm the battlefield. At the vanguard of the chapter's most dangerous war zones, the Second Brotherhood also hold admiralty of the Grey Knight's fleet and bear responsibility for the maneuverability of the chapter's vast forces. The Third Brotherhood, the Ward Makers, are led by Grand Master Aldrich Voldus. As Warden of the Librarium, Aldrich Voldus upholds the legacy of his Brotherhood's founding commander, Janus, fostering many legendary figures within the chapter. Alumni such as Caldor Drago and Arven Stern would carve swaths through their foes with immense psychic might. Often targeted by the 666's greatest foes seeking to humble the glory of the Third Brotherhood, the Ward Makers must stand ever vigilant in combating the champions of the ruinous powers. The Fourth Brotherhood, the Prescient Brethren, are led by Grand Master Dristan Krom. Known as the Keeper of the Augurium, Krom harbors within his chapter many of the most potent psychers. Instinctually attuned to the perils of the warp even among their peers, the Prescient Brethren often appoint prognosticars within their number, capable of sensing impending demonic invasions before they breach real space. The Fifth Brotherhood, the Preservers, are led by Grand Master Rothweir Morvans. Known as the Protector of the Sanctum Sanctorum, Morvans oversees the continued service of those Astartes interred within dreadnought sarcophagi. Chronicling the glories and deeds of these venerable heroes of the chapter, Morvans communes with the ancient dreadnoughts of his Brotherhood and awakens them for war. Supported by their conventionally abled brethren, the dreadnoughts of the Grey Knights fight united in purpose as the Grand Master continues to stave off their potential endless sleep. The Sixth Brotherhood, the Rapiers, are led by Grand Master Anvar Larayon. Regaled as the High Seneschal of the fortress, Larayon abhors wasted applications of force and is an exacting commander. Keenly aware of their limited numbers in combating the vast hordes of the Immaterium, the Rapiers espouse the virtue of striking at the heart of their foe at the opportune time and viable potential for a single Astartes of the Brotherhood to fight with the might of an entire company. The Seventh Brotherhood, the Exactors, are led by Grand Master Kovan Leorak. The appointed representative to the Inquisition, Leorak bears responsibility for the cohesion and shared objectives between the chapter and the Ordo Malleus. Guarding secret tomes of inquisitional records and maintaining good relations with inquisitorial agents, the Exactors aid the Ordo Malleus as individuals or squads to bolster their chapter's resources in exchange for their immense martial prowess. And finally, the Eighth Brotherhood, the Silver Blades, are led by Grand Master Aidan Perdon. Known as the Knight Commander of the Recruits, Perdon and his lieutenants forged the newest members of their order into Astartes worthy of legend. Some veterans of the Brotherhood choose to remain within its ranks to mentor new recruits, as others are chosen to reinforce other brotherhoods. The Chapter Council maintains two unique fighting divisions within the chapter, answerable directly to their will, whilst persecuting the campaigns across the stars. The Order of Purifiers wither the foul manifestations of the warp by their presence alone. Led by an appointed Castellan champion and his lieutenant officers known as the Knights of the Flame, the Purifiers number as many as 50 Astartes in the most rare of circumstances and prevent the spread of the most devastating of demonic incursions. Knight Paladins of the chapter comprise their most accomplished warriors, and are a sight to behold as 100 paladins donned in gleaming silver confront the most fiendish foes of humanity. Assigning paladin squads to various brotherhoods, primarily as bodyguards to each Grand Master, such veterans can turn the tide of the most treacherous of battles with their intervention. Promoted to the rank of Paladin with their successive 8 quests outlined by the Chapter Council, only the boldest and most capable of Astartes shall succeed in ascending to their new role. Bound in service to a specific Grand Master, the Paladins shall act not only as bodyguards, but also advisors and champions to their liege. Terminator squads serve as the most numerous troop deployment of the chapter. Heavily armored, yet swift in combat, uncharacteristically for a Space Marine chapter, the Grey Knights induct recently promoted recruits to the role of Terminator squads to allow for their mastery of controlling and fighting in heavy plate. As the elite stock of the Adeptus Astartes, the Grey Knights do not want for artificer armor, nor the most deadly of weapons, and as such generously allow its junior members to fight clad in and armed with the chapter's devastating arsenal. Strike squads fight at the vanguard of battle and are adept at capturing important objectives. Typically deployed via fixed teleportation devices, the strike squads of the chapter support their kin's primary assault forces with Stormbolter and Psy Cannon fire. Interceptor squads are fitted with personal teleported devices and facilitate infiltration of enemy positions without the reliance of heavy and cumbersome array machinery. Shunting themselves through warp space, only the Astartes of the Grey Knights chapter are capable of enduring this dangerous method of traversal without succumbing to injury or madness. Purgation squads deliver overwhelming firepower against the enemies of the chapter, with 4 Astartes carrying heavy weapons per each 10-man squad formation. Similar to Devastator-class squadrons in their contemporary chapters, the Purgation squads differentiate themselves by virtue of wielding weapons far more powerful in comparison. Keeping pace with the vanguard of battle, the Purgation squads obliterate any foes or structures deemed a threat worthy of nothing less than annihilation. Among the ranks of the 666th, several unique roles exist to fulfill the needs of the bespoke chapter. The Supreme Grand Master of the chapter is obeyed without question by his kin. Though not regarded as a chapter master, the Supreme Grand Master embodies such a rank in all but name. Occasionally regarded as the chapter lord, new masters of the Grey Knights must be appointed unanimously by the chapter council should a replacement for the previous Supreme Grand Master be required. The 8 Grand Masters serve as members of the chapter's command staff and lead each of the 8 brotherhoods. Each a member of the Inquisition's inner conclave by virtue of their rank, the Grand Masters are among the most powerful individuals within the Imperium. Clad in Terminator armor at all times, each Grand Master is an accomplished demon slayer. The death of such individuals a grievous loss for the Inquisition, despite their names and deeds unremembered or honored by the wider Imperium. The Knight Captains serve as the advisors to the Grand Masters, with one appointed to act as the second in command of each brotherhood. Exceptional warriors within the chapter, the Knight Captains directly command their respective brotherhood, and though enacting the will of their respective Grand Master, are not beholden to their strategic oversight. Justicars are the appointed rank equivalent to sergeants within the chapter, with each bearer of the title commanding a squad of their brotherhood. Honing his skills as a leader, each Justicar must follow his path to senior command through unity with his squad's actions and act as the conduit of their unleashed psychic might. Although reputed as a chapter, comprised entirely of psychically gifted individuals superior in strength to their cousin chapters, librarians regardless do exist within the Grey Knights. Imbued with psychic power in excess of their battle brothers, the librarians of the Grey Knights hone the potential of their brethren and serve as symbols of their fledgling kin. Tech Marines of the chapter train with the Tech Priests of Mars in secret, lest their presence be discovered by seconded Tech Marines of other Adeptus Astartes chapters. Forever apart from their kin, the Tech Marines of the chapter must endure and pass the disparate teachings and ideals of the creed of his chapter and that of the Mechanicus. Apothecaries oversee the implantation of their chapter's holy gene seed into promising new recruits and heal both the physical and immaterial wounds incurred by their battle brothers. Chaplains sanctify the armaments of the chapter and conduct prayer ceremonies within the Hall of Champions for the glory and blessing of the Emperor. Though few in number, with the guidance of their chaplains, it is said that not one Grey Knight has ever succumbed to the thrall of chaos. Prognosticars are specialists within the chapter, with incredible sensitivity to fluctuations of the warp. Advising the chapter within the Augurium Tower of the Librarium of Titan, only when personally summoned by the Prognosticars are junior-ranked Grey Knights Astartes permitted an audience with their clairvoyance. Divining impending demonic incursions by reading the currents and tremors of the Immaterium, the Prognosticars enable the chapter to attempt to avert disaster by swiftly countering invasions from the warp. The Castellan Champion leads the Order of Purifiers and bears the demonic blade of Antwyr. Currently attributed to Brother Garen Crow, the Warden of the Blade prevents the Black Blade of Antwyr from falling into the hands of those susceptible to its manipulations. Each brotherhood also heralds its own champion, responsible for the safeguarding of their brother captain and training recruits within their company. Mastering the art of swordsmanship and unerring in their duty to sacrifice themselves to save their commander, it is nonetheless rare for any brotherhood champion to fall in battle due to the scarcity of foes capable of matching their skill at arms. Each battle brother shall serve within Terminator squads, strike squads, and even purgation squads as they accrue experience in the name of their chapter. Tasked with combating the gravest demonic infestations across the void of space, the Grey Knights are equipped with among the finest weapons and armor of the Imperium. Their ancient pact with the Mechanicus of Mars, allowing for their procurement of the most technologically advanced armor, even occasional bargains struck with Xenos, allow for the 666th chapter to march into battle with weapons too powerful for even standard Astartes to wield. Unique to the chapter armaments include the Psi Cannon, a heavy weapon inscribed with blessed bolter rounds, capable of rending demon flesh more efficiently than standard heavy bolters. Incinerators are an advancement made to the typical flamer weapon, fueled by promethium, combined with sacred oils to better cleanse immaterial corruption. The most pedestrian of their ranged weapons being the Storm Bolter, the standard weapon of the Grey Knights, if used by other chapters, would be considered among their most prized and revered relics. Most distinctly of all their weapons, the Grey Knights chapter make widespread use of their so-called Nemesis Force weapons. Attuned to the mind of its wielder, Nemesis weapons such as power swords, halberds, power fists, hammers, and spears are consecrated and sanctified in holy oils to better fell the filth spawn of the ruinous powers. Inscribed with runes, prove an anathema to the existence of demons, the first Nemesis weapons were said to be handcrafted by the Master of Mankind himself before their widespread production to arm the Sentinels of Titan. Their potency corresponding directly to their bearer, each Nemesis weapon is capable of devastating strikes despite newer recruits being unable to fully harness their potential power. Adapting and improving with the experience of their master, each weapon shall evolve alongside their holder. The most veteran Grey Knights cause such weapons to sunder even the mightiest of demon princes with a single, well-placed strike. Though a supremely rare sight to any subject of the Imperium, the visage of a Grey Knight is among the most imposing figures one can ever experience. Clad in Aegis armor, the heavily inscribed and ornate gleaming sheen of their plate inspires the judgment and glory of the Emperor. Protecting from both material and immaterial threat, the routinely anointed armor harnesses the psychic might of its host to better defend against the manipulations of the powers of the warp, creating an effect known to the chapter as shrouding around Aegis Astartes. The aura of the Aegis armor drains the perception and intuition of any within its presence. Each piece of armor incorporates a storm bolter into its construction as standard. Loaded with psychically imbued bolter rounds, such as Psybolt ammunition, each Grey Knight can devastate hordes of demons alone before even charging into the fray with two-handed greatswords or other such weapons. The Crusader variant design of their helmets is unique to their order. The design of their war gear is unmistakable to those with the knowledge to know of the Grey Knight's existence. Veteran warriors are known to etch their names and deeds upon their ancient armor, as each battle brother of the chapter affixes purity seals upon their ceramite, and are honored greatly should they return from battle without such seals being broken. On occasion, carrying oath shields bearing their personal heraldry, such artifacts of the chapter are reserved for only the most accomplished warriors within their ranks. The Grey Knights also utilize patterns of heavy infantry battlesuits unique to their chapter, known as Nemesis Dreadknights. An advanced exoskeleton, allowing for able-bodied Astartes to fight alike to their venerable Dreadnought brethren, the Dreadknights prove more deadly than standard Astartes Dreadnoughts. Used primarily to combat gargantuan-grated demons and demon princes, each pilot of the Dreadknight wields a warsuit with strength enough to combat such foes with enormous power fists, warhammers, power swords, and even wrist-mounted heavy bolters with the agility and grace of an unarmored Astartes. Allowing for rapid exit of the warsuit's controls, Astartes piloting the Dreadknight can abandon their exoskeleton should it sustain damage and continue fighting unimpeded. Though a rarity among such elite warriors, fatally wounded Astartes of the chapter are interred within unique Aegis pattern dreadnoughts, often holding ranks of brother captains or even grand masters before their injury. Such venerable heroes of the chapter are revered by their kin to serve long enough to be interred within these unique dreadnoughts. For it is the wish of every Astartes of the 666th to fight until death, no matter the form, and one day be returned to the Citadel of Titan, to be laid to rest within the crypts of the dead fields, alongside the chapter's noble heroes. Enduring for over 10 millennia, the traditions, oaths, and deeds of the Grey Knights are reflected in their opulent panoplies of war. Adorning their left pauldron with the symbol of their order, the Liber Daemonica, with a sword driven through its pages, the Vigil of the Demon Hunters bear their order's heraldry with pride. Clad in glistening silver armor trimmed with gold, many battle brothers of the chapter bear heraldic shields upon their armor, signifying their greatest deeds. Uniformly adopting red, white, and black symbology, first created by the ancient titans of the Order upon eschewing their former legion's glories, each icon present on a Grey Knight's armor is a story unto itself. Skulls indicate the Astartes' successful kill of a powerful demonic entity, while swords honor their heroic valor in battle. White swords on red denote the Emperor's mercy for an Astartes proven to be benevolent to his peers, whilst a black sword symbolizes the Emperor's wrath by achieving vengeance for a member of the chapter. Rarest of all are red swords on a black field, identifying an act of righteous rage, proclaiming its bearer to have fallen into a zealous, fury-fueled madness. Such Astartes who have overcome their bloody rampage and returned to the purity of their duty shall wear this symbol as both an honor and a reminder not to repeat their past lapse in character. Rank among their peers is distinguished by crenellated lines and ascending rows of color, with each line identifying their squadron. Cooperation with singularly capable allies are honored by incorporating the sigil of their order, whether such organizations be Astartes chapters, Astra Militarum regiments, or a branch of the Inquisition. Though honored rarely for such deeds, some allies deem necessary to mind wipe following the intervention of the Grey Knights can be honored by the sigil of their organization as the last reminder of their service to the Imperium. Each warrior who invades the realm of chaos and returns alive are marked with a flame icon, depicting their trial by fire within the heart of their enemy's domain. The Imperial Aquila is most sacred to the Grey Knights, and is worn only by the most heroic of its warriors. Signifying a deed, eclipsing all other honors by the standards of the chapter, such an icon dominates any heraldic canvases such warriors shall employ. Such heraldic indicators can be overlain to create dual meanings of numerous deeds earned in battle, with symbols such as a white sword driven through a horned skull, depicting an act of mercy, allowing for the destruction of a powerful champion of chaos. Whether such an act of mercy had entailed the death of an innocent or the sacrifice of an ally is for the Astartes bearing such a symbol to disclose at his own discretion. Shouldering the burden as the Emperor's foremost blade against the encroaching darkness of chaos, the Grey Knights are the most pious of every chapter of the Adeptus Astartes, possessing insight beyond any chapter save for the exorcists regarding the complexities and treacheries of the warp. The Grey Knights are entrusted with among the most dangerous knowledge available to the Imperium. Adapting continuously to the ever-changing escalations of chaos invasions across the stars, the pawns of the ruinous powers are relentless in their countering of the chapter's tried and true methods of waging war. The most deadly weapon of the Grey Knights is their records of the true names of each demon of the warp. Once spoken aloud, any demon regarded by its primordial title can be bound or banished to their wretched domain, and it is the chapter's duty to memorize, attribute, and expand on their archives of the names of the champions of chaos. The most efficient means of staving off their foes, with no armaments capable of destroying immaterial essence, alike to the sword of the Emperor or a shard of the ancient anatheme, the Grey Knights' toil is endless in their deeds of casting back the tide of returned demons. Gradually learning each of the 666 words of banishment, key to casting demon souls back into the warp, only one Astartes has ever mastered and intoned every word of the litany, the first Supreme Grand Master, Janus. Should a mere mortal even look upon a single word, their mind shall collapse into madness. The mental toll wrought from learning such a natural script can destroy the minds of even the most accomplished psychers. Possessing Tesseract labyrinths acquired from temporary alliances with the Necron dynasties of old, the Grey Knights utilized such unbreakable prisons to forever contain demonic champions. Though it is immensely difficult to lure such cunning demons into the Tesseract labyrinths, some inhabited cubes are stored within the vaults of Titan, never to escape their fate. Making copies of the Liber Daemonica, the tome of all of humanity's knowledge of the denizens of the Warp, the Grey Knights study the pages of such copies as they embark upon their crusades to further master their understanding of the Immaterium. Storing the original copy deep within the Librarian Daemonica of Titan, every Astarte shall carry a copy of the Codex within a secret compartment of his breastplate during battle, should they ever need to harness the knowledge held within its pages. The spines of these copies, made from thigh bones of martyred saints, and its pages embellished with silver text. Each battle brother of the chapter shall be armed with the master of mankind's greatest weapon against chaos. Deployed in single squads, supporting Ordo Malleus task forces, planetary law enforcements, or Astra Militarum regiments, it is rare for the Grey Knights to assault any war zone at full strength. In exceptional cases of dire demonic invasion, a maximum of 20 Grey Knights shall be dispatched to combat the threat, led by a senior captain or Grand Master of the Chapter Council, establishing beachheads with tactical squads before reinforcing their position using Terminator-clad veterans. Most incursions are ended with the swift teleportation of strike forces to the heart of the invasion site and the banishment of the primary demonic commander. Their psychic purity reviled by the Immaterium, the Grey Knights shall march into battle projecting immaterial sounds said to resemble an angelic choir. Distorting and weakening their foes, this psychic gestalt repels and tethers lesser demons to the material universe as they try in vain to resist the Emperor's righteous presence. On rare occasions, communicating with a unique battlecant known as the Trisenti Code, the Grey Knights' encrypted language, known only to their order, allows for their communications when needed to be undecipherable by any capable of breaching their encrypted voxlinks. Never fighting fair odds, the sheer amount of resources necessary to craft a single Grey Knight damns each Astartes of the chapter to be outnumbered in every battle they shall ever endure. Uttering no war cry, nor espousing promises of their impending wrath, the Grey Knights attack without verbal communication to their enemies. What most chapters would consider suicidal maneuvers are the standard for Grey Knight deployments as they teleport directly into the heart of the most dangerous of engagements. Always outmanned, yet never outmatched, the Scions of the Emperor shall never relent in their ceaseless purge of the unclean of the universe. No matter the cost, no matter the odds, and no matter the danger, the Grey Knights shall continue their holy quest to destroy every last vestige of demonic influence across the stars. For they are the bane of his foes. They are the end. We do not know what our chances of survival are, so we fight as if they were zero. We do not know what we are facing, so we will fight it as if it was the Dark Gods themselves. No one will remember us now, and we may never be buried beneath Titan, so we will build our own memorial here. The chapter might lose us, and the Imperium might never know we existed, but the enemy will know. The enemy will remember. We will hurt it so badly, it will never forget us until the stars burn out and the Emperor vanquishes it at the end of time. When chaos is dying, its last thought will be of us. That is our memorial, carved into the heart of chaos. We cannot lose, Grey Knights. We have already won. This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. The galaxy is beset on all sides by beings intent on the corruption and manipulation of the subjects of the Imperium. Yet the Grey Knight shall not falter in combating the primordial aggressor. It is easy to believe that by not observing those who fight in your name, that you are not worth preserving. Yet the Emperor protects, and his warriors such as the Grey Knights fight not for themselves, but for humanity. And should the Imperium reclaim its long-dormant glories, you shall be indispensable. So hold your head aloft and look to the future, for you and your brethren are worth fighting for.